Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome back. It's been a while since I've had a chance to upload a video, and I'm gonna try and make up for the lack of videos here in the next few days. What I want to get into now is one of my hands down favorite acquisitions from Blade 2014 from Andre de Villiers. This is the Butcher. Not just any Butcher though, this is the Dress Butcher. This is his full tilt, balls to the wall, every option put on it Butcher. Now, I also realize that there's going to be so many aspects to this design, so many things that were done, that it might be overkill for a lot of people. And I actually like it that way. I don't always go for the wildest and craziest and let's throw everything at it kind of knives, but every now and then I like to do that. And this knife, honestly, was perfect for it. What you've got here is not your standard base model. If you want to look at a standard base model, you look at his new Midtech, and it's a lot more like that. So you can order a Butcher that's a little bit more plain Jane, standard blade on there, and that's great. I wanted to do something just a wee bit different. And we'll talk about the Midtech also in a little bit, but right now we're going to focus on mine, which is the Dress Butcher. You'll see a lot of stuff coming at you, from the anodizing that you see in the gold, bronze, and the blue, to the Damasteel blade, to the machining, the deep bronze ano in some areas, the lightning strike carbon fiber, the amazing backspacer. Oh my God, the detail work in that backspacer, and then that amazing Damasteel pocket clip. And not just any pocket clip. The standard pocket clip that he offers is like this, but you do have a choice to get the custom pocket clip, which is actually a hinged pocket clip. Pretty badass, I gotta tell you. Now, the funny thing about the Butcher is, you look at this thing and go, holy shit, that is a big beast of a knife. When in actuality, it's 8 3/4 inches overall, and only a 3.5 inch blade. Now when you look at a typical 3.5 inch blade, like my Rockstead here, you see that even though this is a 3.5 inch blade, it's so massive that you can't help but think that this knife is tremendously larger than it is. Here's my Robert Carter F16, another 3.5 inch. Now you start seeing something that's a little bit more comparable because of the taller Tanto style blade on there. But your traditional knives, like the Shin or my Mac Kuchara Dorado, are going to have a slimmer profile. This thing just comes out looking like a behemoth. So every time you see that knife in pictures, you're going to swear that it's bigger than 3.5 inches. When you're holding it, I'll be honest with you, you're going to swear it's bigger than 3.5 inches. It's just a big, mean, tough-looking blade, and that's exactly why I fell in love with it. Now, this was about the second knife that he made in Damasteel for the Butcher. He had actually never touched any kind of Damascus before, and he made one just to kind of see if he could do it. And my buddy Dave actually owns that knife. And as soon as he did that, we started altering my order a little bit to go a little bit fancier. When I initially ordered my knife, it was just going to be standard with lightning strike carbon fiber inlays on both sides, and then just his millwork, some anodizing, and the standard S35 VN blade. And when I saw what he did with the Damasteel, beautiful polish, nice dark etch, I realized that this could be something a little bit more special in my collection. Not just an everyday carry, but something that could be, I don't know, like a little bit more of a showpiece. So we agreed to adjust my order, which set things off. I mean, we started this back in January. It's now the middle of June. I picked this up, obviously, the first week of June. It's been a very long process. And I've been waiting to get that order fulfilled since somewhere around August or so. But making those changes, I feel, made a very big difference. And it went through so many evolutions and so much back and forth that he went ahead and built 2 or 3 Dress Butchers simultaneously. He says, I know I'm going to see you at the Blade Show, so I'm going to bring all 3 of them, and you just pick. I'm going to hold all 3. I'm not going to sell them until I see you. You pick of the 3 which one you like the best. And this was it, the actual one that we had gone and decided all the different components, I did end up liking this one the best. So let's go over some of the neat things that he's done here. First off, his bearing system is utterly fantastic. He is using needle thrust bearings and a very specialized pivot. The way he's building his pivots now, they're a little bit different, but he's employing a system that allows you to adjust the speed of the action without actually adjusting the pivot itself. So, a lot of times if you want to loosen it up a little bit, maybe to get a faster action, you'll start noticing that your blade starts wandering over to the side because you've loosened the pivot and you've loosened what's actually holding your blade in. And he's actually developed a new system that allows you to make that adjustment to speed up right in there, to speed up the action of your blade without affecting your blade centering. Pretty neat. It's a completely unique system. Come on, focus. Thank you. And I've been very, very impressed by it. Now, mine here has the original pivot, but it's a custom-made pivot, as you can see. Very, very cool. Very nicely done. Lots of cool anno work in there as well. He's done some beautiful machining. You've got a beautiful satin finish on the titanium. Deep milling, where he's done a nice deep dark bronze anno, which is a great contrast to the brighter mirror polished golden anno. And you've got the lightning strike carbon fiber inlays. Now what he's done here is these are actually done where they're raised. He actually tapers them off. You can see them get down nice and low to the frame. Then they bulk up and get thicker, so you can actually feel these when you're holding it in your hand. So it's got kind of a split handle design. So they're not the type of inlay where the whole thing sits in flush. He wants you to actually feel almost like speed bumps in the handle. Again, beautiful satin work here, very clean all the way around. May have a couple of marks because I have carried this quite often since I got back from the show. There again is more great mill work and that deep dark bronze anno. This was one of the custom options that I chose, which is the D-style ring for the lanyard. I'm going to tell you this, if you're not a big lanyard person, do not order the D-style swiveling lanyard. The thing is, if you don't have a lanyard on it, and I just simply looped this one on here, I immediately realized when I picked this knife up that it absolutely has to have a lanyard on it if you have this style. Because half the time when you go to pick up the knife, it's going to do this. It is going to swivel into your hand and it's going to be kind of a pain. So you need the weight of the lanyard to pull that down. So if you're a lanyard person, go for this because it really is trick. It really is badass. But if you're not so much a lanyard person, opt for the standard lanyard opening. It's not going to get in your way. It's not going to be cumbersome at all. I really liked having that option. Pretty slick, pretty cool. The other big option was the clip, and he surprised me by doing it in Damasteel. I was expecting just a titanium clip, possibly anodized, but it's this mounting system and the pivoting clip that's so awesome. Now, I don't think that he's the very first maker to ever do this, but I can't honestly say I've ever picked up another knife that had a system like this. And I was a little bit worried about the tension because, as you can see, it doesn't take a lot of effort to open that up. But it is surprisingly good in the pocket. I haven't had an issue with it sliding up and out no matter how many times I squat down or bend over or anything else. The knife isn't getting pushed up out of my pocket. It's just a really, really nice system. And it looks good too. And the fact that he matched it up with the blade makes it even better. So I've got a Damasteel pocket clip, which I've never had a Damascus or Damasteel pocket clip. Very slick. Here is his over travel for the lock bar. Nice and clean and simple. He does engrave each frame. So as you see, ADV, Andre de Villiers, Butcher 2014. And I do believe he's going to be numbering on some of these as well. Then you get to the flash. Yep. It is very flashy for what I typically carry, but again, I wanted something a little bit different. So you've got this beautiful polished Damasteel. You've got this mirror polishing all the way around the edges of the titanium and then anodized to a golden bronze. And then you get to this insane backspacer, where he's done this Z and hourglass pattern in the titanium, sculpted everything beautifully, and then anodized inside and out. Just gorgeous. There's a shitload of work in this knife, and a shitload of precision work in this knife. There's your flipper tab. Nice amount of jimping on there. Now let's talk about the deployment. You can either open it by, as you see right there, the thumb disc, or, look how smooth that is, by the flipper. You can rock back on it if you want. Oops, sorry, my finger was in the way on that one. See what I mean? This does get in the way if you don't have the lanyard on there. So you can rock back on it, or you can push button it. I kind of like to push button this one sometimes. I don't know why. It works just as well either way. Beautiful Damasteel on this. For those that are unfamiliar with Damasteel, Damasteel is going to be a stainless steel variation of Damascus. So the combination of steels being used in here are stainless, so there's a little bit less upkeep than on a high carbon Damascus. You still want to take care of it. You still want to use whatever anti-corrosive protection you want to put on it. You just don't have to be as on top of it as you do a standard Damascus blade. And I got to tell you, that shine is sexy. It is gorgeous. This is one of the knives that when I pull it out, my non-knife friends ogle it. My knife friends ogle it. Everybody just seems to get it. They understand why I'm attracted to knives when I pull out something like this. But here's the thing. Andre and I got together in a very strange fashion. I've actually reviewed one of Andre's knives before. You guys just haven't seen that review because I did end up pulling it down off my channel. One of the very few times that I have ever done that, and I did that out of respect. I had gotten a guest blade review set up, and the gentleman, good friend of mine named Marlon, sent me two knives. One was the Recenti Snafu, which of course that still lives on my channel, and the other was an Andre de Villiers. I do not recall which model it was. Long story short, the knife had issues, and I didn't really give a straightforward review. I don't know what kind of mood I was in that day, but I was a little more sarcastic than usual. I know, fucking go figure, me being sarcastic. And I worded things really, really harshly. Anyway, I uploaded it, and within a day, I got a message from our friend Neil Blackwood. And Neil says, dude, what is going on? How could you make a review like that about Andre's work? He's like, the very first knife show I ever went to 15 years ago, I bought an Andre de Villiers, and it's one of my favorite knives to this day. They're just incredible, and I can't imagine that it would be that problematic. I said, well, no, the knife had some issues. But, you know, maybe the way I chose to word things was a bit harsh, a bit extreme. And it was, because I actually have rewatched that video since I got back from the Blade Show and went, wow, yeah, that was unduly harsh. It's one thing to go out there and say, here are the pros, here are the cons, boom, 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 boom. But, yeah, I was in a very verbose mood that day, apparently. So anyway, I ended up getting a message from Andre directly, and of course he wasn't happy about the way I worded things, and he said the same thing. He's like, if there are issues, there are issues, but to word it the way you did, I feel that's a bit unfair. So I'm the kind of guy, I try to be as straightforward, honest, and unbiased as I can. I said, I tell you what, I'll give you two options to try for me to try to make this better. If you'd like, you can build a knife that's as perfect as you think it can be and send it out to me. I'll review it and overnight it back to you, which, by the way, to South Africa would be very expensive. I said, or if you have any openings in your order books coming up soon, I'm happy to purchase a knife, commission a build, and then do the review based on that. And he says, well, I don't know, let me think about it. And then not too long after that is when we started hearing about the Butcher. And I saw the first pictures and went, shit, that thing is just kick-ass. And then I waited till one or two guys had him in their hands and they couldn't stop raving. So I reached out to him again and once again, of course, apologized. And I said, you know, I'd love to get on your books for a Butcher. Would you do that? And he says, you know what? No problem at all. And then we started talking a lot more often through messaging. and got to know each other and got to understand where each other were coming from. And now that I have this in my hand, and I have held about 4 other DeVillers before I got this, and I got to tell you, his workmanship is fantastic. Everybody can screw up. It takes a real man to step up and say that they screwed up and make the changes they have to make. And he has. This knife is one of the most amazing pieces I've ever owned. And I got to be honest with you, the Midtech is as well. This was one of the biggest hits of the Blade Show, period. It was this and John Graham's Midtech that everybody walked away with. Either they bought one or they walked away with an impression on it that they just could not believe. This is as close to a standard grade custom butcher as you can get. As a matter of fact, there are very few differences. So instead of spending $800 on the custom, you get into the Midtech for $400, and you've got one hell of a friggin' great knife. This is a great everyday carry. Now this, and those that did get a chance to see this before I picked it up, was sitting on Andre's table with a sticker on that said $1,800. So yeah, there's a big difference between $1,800 and $400. But I got to tell you, for someone that's going to carry it every day and do any kind of real work with it, this is going to be your ticket right here. And this is actually one that I purchased off of his table when I picked this up to use on my upcoming show, which is going to be August 1st. And he's actually supplying me 10 more. I've now become a dealer for Andre. That's how much I've come to respect him and love his products, that now I want to stand behind it and carry his products. So I'm going to be bringing in a whole bunch of the Midtech Butchers for my show. But I got to tell you, if you can afford to go the custom route, do it. You know, maybe you don't need the Damasteel, maybe you don't need the extra pimpification of, you know, the golds and the blues and all of the backspacer work and whatnot. But you can work that to whatever degree you want. From mild to wild, he does everything. And his books are open. He's accepting orders. I don't know how long his wait is right now, but he is accepting those orders. And I tell you, you could not deal with a nicer guy. This is somebody that we started off with a very, very, very rocky relationship in the beginning, and we now have a great amount of respect for each other. I love talking with Andre. I had a really great time meeting him at the Blade Show, and I'm going to continue to support his work as well. I think what he's doing is different. It's a breath of fresh air. He does really bring in a lot of design aspects into his knives. And you may see one thing here and one thing there and go, oh, that reminds me of so-and-so maker or so-and-so knife. And then he twists it up and adds more to it. And he gives you something that really is a bit unique. It's got a great feel. It's got a great balance. I mean, it feels like I'm holding some kind of medieval weapon. That's just how cool this is. And look at the colors. That is gorgeous. Every time I flip this open, I'm amazed at the finish work that was done. Again, the way mine is prepared, it may be overkill for a lot of people, and I get that. As you guys see, I don't really do the crazy flashy stuff very often. Very, very rarely, maybe 2 or 3 knives a year. And this is one that I got to tell you, every time I reach for it, every time I put it in my pocket, I am so glad that I did. And every time I hand it to somebody, they're always like, holy shit, this thing is crazy. Where can I get something like this? And you know what? It makes you feel good to have something that special in your pocket. Is it a bit of pocket jewelry? Yes. But is it also a fully usable knife? Absolutely. Damasteel is super tough stuff. It's a great quality material. Andre also makes one hell of a sharp knife. So when the need arises, yep, I can whip it out and do whatever I need to with it. But until then, I've got something that both knife people and non-knife people get an appreciation for when they're looking at it. Especially when they start looking at the smaller details. Well, it's not really a small detail, it's a very large area of the knife. But the smaller details of the knife. Beautifully done. Great craftsmanship. I can't say it's 100% without flaw, but I've really only had 2 or 3 knives in my entire life that were. I think this shows an incredible degree of creativity and very, very, very hard work. It was a long wait, but it was absolutely worth the wait. And this is something that's kicked a lot of other great knives out of my pocket recently. so that I could carry this. And I'll be honest with you, I went into this with certain expectations. I wanted to keep an open mind, but I had my fears, I had my doubts. And when you're spending that kind of money, you know, it's got to be a damn good quality product. And this knife has exceeded every expectation that I had. And that's about the best thing I could possibly say about any maker and about any knife. Amazing craftsmanship, incredible, great action. I mean, super smooth. And not a lot of guys have had that degree of success with the roller thrust bearings. Roller thrust bearings make a lot more contact than IKBS or a standard ball bearing. Yet he's made this thing so damn smooth, I can't see him opting for any other type. I'm going to go for now, guys. Thank you for watching. As always, please follow me on Instagram at JimSkeltonTV, and keep an eye out for all the cool announcements I'll be making in the upcoming few weeks. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you on the next video.